What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog. My name is Filip, Latocha, and today we are going to be talking about Nike React Infinity Run FlyKnit 2, which at the time of this filming is one of Nike's newer shoes in the running world as a selection. And this is now the shoe to apparently replace the Infinity React Run FlyKnit 1 from last year, of course. And yeah, we're just going to talk about my first impressions with the shoe, how it feels, pros, cons. You guys know the drill already. So before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down your favorite type of spaghetti sauce. Because that's all I was thinking about during this run was whether I liked Alfredo or red sauce better. And I can't really decide. But the key is I don't really like the tomato stuff in it. So it's got to be just like puree all the way through. So whatever that is, you know, you can call it as you want. But okay, before we get into the actual review, let's roll the B-roll.
I need to listen to myself. I need to show myself some empathy. Need to listen to my heart instead of hiding in a reverie. I don't wanna be wanted. Today I wanna be free. I wanna make them sure that they can fucking find me. I wanna get lost somewhere only I know. Let my body breathe, go slow. I've gotta get out, run away somehow, and let me go where it's okay to wallow. So the shadow come follow. I'm out of control, I'm done with it all. I wanna get lost.
Alright, cool, and we're back. So, let's get into the specs of this shoe as they are. So, here we go. Basically, the Nike Infinity, I'm always going to mess this up. It's the Nike React Infinity Run FlyKnit 2. Is basically about, I'd say, 11 ounces to my last understanding, which puts us at about like 310, 315 grams on average, depending on your size. In this case, this is a men's 8.5 for the American sizes. In terms of weight, that is actually a lot more than some of the shoes that we have on the market, but it's strange because it doesn't feel like it's 11 ounces. We'll get back to that in a second, though. In terms of heel drop, the offset is about 8 millimeters from heel to toe. The heel is about 30 to 31 millimeters, which puts the toe box at about 22 millimeters stack height. So it doesn't really feel much like a high heel like the 10 millimeter shoes does, but it does have a slight drop, which allows for a little more roll flexibility depending on how you want to go about this shoe. So that's kind of the general specs of the shoe. And now to this next part, I'm going to try to avoid comparing it to the Infinity React FlyKnit 1 for as much as possible. I'm going to have a second iteration of that video coming up real soon, probably sometime later this week. But I want to keep everything specific to this shoe as it is before we do our compare and contrast. So that being said, let's get into the specs as we have them. So of course, we do have the React running all the way across the heel area here, which is apparently marketed by Nike, as I'm going to quote it as what it says in this shoe. It says, Nike React Infinity FlyKnit, designed to keep runners running. So that being said, I'm announcing my resignation from running entirely. I'm just kidding. Anyways, so this is the React heel that's just running all the way across the shoe. It's marketed as basically injury prevention. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case or how they've done that test or who's done that test. But as far as I'm concerned, it's very comfortable. It's very sturdy when it needs to be. You don't really hurt your feet afterwards unless you've busted them up previously like I have. But I digress. So let's talk about the direct bottoms. Again, this is nothing completely new other than the color scheme, which is the React bottoms comparatively to the first model. So again, I'm trying to stay away from comparing it as much to the first model. But there are not a whole lot of changes in this bottom. I think they, for the most part, reused the React bottom and this rubber insole and they've just added some new stuff to the upper, basically trying to correct some of the issues with it previously. But okay, let's get into it. So the upper as it is FlyKnit. As you can see, it looks very different from most FlyKnits on the market, as you might recall them. I'm not 100% sure what their incentive or design motive here was for it, but this is my hypothesis on it, because I'm not an expert on this shoe for the most part. This is FlyKnit, and they're experimenting with what looks like 2, maybe 3 different versions of FlyKnit across the shoe, and then they have some mesh that they're using elsewhere, and some plush as well. So, from what I see in this toe box area, this is the thinner, much more translucent, not as thick FlyKnit. That's, I'm guessing, for the breathability of the shoe. It's also here on the sides, and it's also here basically on the inside. So that's the thinner FlyKnit. They've got a thicker FlyKnit that runs across more or less the toe box area, closer to the shoelaces here, and then up to, I would say, the ankle area of the shoe, probably as a reinforcement. And then the third variation of the FlyKnit, which I'm seeing here, is more or less for the big toe of your shoe, and it's this particular area right there. I'm guessing this is the thickest part of the FlyKnit. As I'm seeing it now, that might be the case, because this area, this thicker FlyKnit is just reinforced with the different color and some of the thinner material, but this area has like 2 layers of thinner material going over it, and that signifies that this is this toe area. So my guess is the previous iteration of the shoe might have had toe rips going through it. I haven't gotten to that point with my particular Infinity React Run FlyKnit, but I'm guessing this was a problem they might have had previously, and that's why they've gone ahead and made this fix to the shoe. Continuing on with the upper, the shoelaces are not asymmetric. As a matter of fact, they're just running straight across the shoe. Same thing with the tongue. It's not necessarily an offset tongue with like a cut lip on it. It is just a generic shoe tongue that just runs straight across the shoe. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. I think it's kind of fun. It's a little bit different, weirdly enough to say. But I will roll with it. It's not a big deal to me. And then some other things. Of course, we got the non-asymmetric shoelaces, pardon me. And then we have this new feature to the shoe, which is taking one of their Infinity React signature symbols or insignias, and they're using it as shoelace holes here in the upper end of the upper material. So what's going on with that, I'm guessing, is probably a fix that they've done from the previous model of the shoe, which was that when you tied it a certain way, you didn't have the lock around the ankle like you used to have, and I'm guessing this is the fix for it. And then, of course, they implemented 2 holes, so you can obviously do a runner's knot or any sort of shoelace knot that you prefer, and you'll end up utilizing that second hole to do so. So I guess it's a good attempt to see what happens with that. We'll see how it totally plays out. Moving on, so the shoe collar itself, it does run pretty deep like the previous model as well, but the difference is there's a lot more plush and a lot more stability in terms of the ride because of this. There's no Achilles pillow that's visible, but it is part of just this plush upper, which again has a nice lock, a nice stability kind of feature. And I'm guessing this resembles more of the Pegasus 37, just not nearly as thin of a material. This one has like a lot more like squish, a lot more pocket, whereas that one is a lot more stable and firm. So they've kind of fused a couple of materials overall together from different variations of shoes that they released in 2020, and just smack dab put it together in what they've got here now. Okay, anything else that we should address? I mean, other than that, I guess in the heel area, the FlyKnit here is definitely a lot more reinforced. There's probably some extra material here as well, in addition to this rubber guardrail with the signature Nike React Infinity Run FlyKnit guardrail that they have here, which again is part of their recovery injury prevention material, because then it doesn't prevent any kind of heel slippage or any sort of, I would say, instability in the shoe ultimately. So let's leave it at that for now. Let's talk pros, cons, what I think they've done differently that worked and what didn't. So first impressions first. Putting on the shoe kind of felt like an Infinity React, you know, just like the first rendition of the shoe. But the only problem, well, not necessarily the problem, the thing that was noticeable for sure, two things. One of them was that this upper shoe collar area was definitely a lot tighter when you first put the shoe on, and that is due to the fact that they had these extra shoelaces running through here, and now you have a little bit of tightness in this area when you first put the shoe on, rather than just like a slip and slide like the first model of the shoe. The second thing is the arch support in the shoe. It could be the arch support, I'm not sure if it's that or it's the way the rubber's formed. It felt like you had to break it in a little bit because it was causing you to supinate just a slight smidgen. After you started running, you didn't really notice it, but it did feel like the shoe was ultimately trying to cause your foot to like basically supinate inside the shoe, just a tad. Once you're tied in, once you're locked in, I mean, it's pretty secure. It felt afterwards like the React FlyKnit while we were running, despite the weight, which in my opinion is quite a lot. But after that, the shoe's been just running fine. I don't see this shoe necessarily being a speed trainer in my lineup, nor was the original Infinity React. But if anything, this is definitely a great everyday runner, definitely a great recovery trainer, as you would obviously suspect this shoe to be. And yeah, just it did its job just fine today. I think I ran just under 6 miles according to Strava. I'll post those results right here. I did run about 6:20, 6:30 pace, but Strava thinks I ran 6 minutes flat. I don't know why Strava does that, but it's okay. Strava thinks I'm a god when I'm really not. Anyways, what else can we bring up about this ride? I mean, again, if you're a forefoot or heel striker, I'd say this is a good shoe for you overall, because I'm more of that forefoot striker. This area has been real kind to me. Not a lot of slip, not a lot of wear and tear as far as we're looking right now, 6 miles in. I hope there isn't a whole lot of wear. It looks like there isn't. It looks like it's just been kind of a fun ride overall, especially running in the rain. There wasn't much slippage either, so that's been also a very good thing as well. Any last thoughts? Well, okay, that's pretty much the pros here, is that if you enjoyed the original rendition of the shoe with like some minor improvements on this front, you're gonna like this shoe as well. Just be aware of like what's going on here in this ankle area. And of course, that's just the really major difference, is just the way the shoe locks in. Cons, there's two of them. So one is personal and one is obviously the elephant in the room, is that this thing weighs a lot. At about almost 11 ounces and 310, 313 grams, like, don't expect to have a speed workout in the shoe that you can keep a consistent pace with. That's not to say you couldn't run fast in it. It's just the difference with like this and like the Tempo Next percent is that the Tempo Next percent is like built in a way to kind of give you that spring when you hit the forefoot, midfoot area of the shoe. But this one, there's no carbon plate. It's just React all the way across. So it's heavy because of how much material they're using to reinforce the shoe and keep your foot nice and snug and also secure and more or less stable in this particular instance. But the problem does end up being that with this heavier shoe, it's going to drag after a while if you're running too fast in the shoe. So it's better when you take something like this for a spin to obviously keep it at slower paces and just be consistent at that rate. And if you're already good at running slower, more consistent paces, I don't think you'll have a problem with it, but beware of this weight. The second thing I really don't like, obviously, if you watch all my videos, is the color scheme of this shoe. Like, the green is awesome, but like this upper color scheme is just boring. And I know somebody in the comments sent me a link of some shoes from Hong Kong because they were looking for comparing and contrasting on Peg 37s. And I did come across this shoe in Hong Kong, and they have like this awesome like electric lizard green color in this upper area that just looks iced out, and it was sick. And like, I should have just bought that, but you know, whatever, live and learn. I just wanted to really test this shoe out, and this is the most unique color scheme, but it is also one of the more boring color schemes, I guess. It looks like something you would definitely, after you retire this shoe and you want to work in like an uptight hipster corporate office, you would wear this with your suit and pants, and you just be like, hey guys, did you watch the Bears game last night? Ha 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 ha. Overall, let me give you my thoughts. Cool stuff that they added to the shoe. I'm a fan of what they've got going on. It is very similar to the original React Infinity Run FlyKnit in the sense that the build is for the most part the same in the bottoms. The upper has a few adjustments that they wanted to address from previous, I'm guessing, feedback and testing that they've done. And ultimately, it's going to be a hit or miss in this particular instance, but probably not nearly as hit and miss as the original React Infinity Run FlyKnit, which definitely had people's heads spinning for the most part. So, yeah, like I said, if you enjoyed the first rendition of the shoe, you'll probably enjoy the second one. Just be conscious of the fact that the shoe technically weighs more, but doesn't feel like it weighs nearly as much, if you know what I mean. And what else? Final thoughts? Yeah, if you don't like the color, it's just my opinion that you can still totally get away with running in the first rendition of the shoe and just hang out until they make, like, the clown puke orange and lime green version of the shoe, which I'm guessing they will in the next coming months. That'll be so sick if they do that. I'll buy it for 50 likes on this video when it comes out. And yeah, I guess we're just going to give you updates periodically after 50 plus miles, or unless something really significant happens, like we rip something or I break my foot in it, in which case I will just rib at Nike for the rest of my life for promoting a shoe that prevents injuries and breaks feet. Hopefully that doesn't happen though, Nike. Anyways, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching this video, and yeah, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell me your favorite spaghetti sauce or pasta sauce that you use with your dinners and lunches if you eat pasta, or if you don't eat pasta, what do you pour on what? That goes the same thing for like chicken parmesan. You should totally put red sauce on that baby because it's mwah. So anyways, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys real soon.